Man, all right. How's everyone doing tonight? Are you guys glad that the series is coming to an end? Oh, no. We still want to talk about relationships. Awesome. I'm glad. I know it's been a whole lot of, as Josh said, 7 weeks of us talking about relationships, really diving into not only what we adults think, because let's be honest, that's not really the important part here. We want to know what God has to say and what His Word, what His truth has to say about these issues. And we've been coming up. You guys have been showing up every week for this, taking your notes, because note takers are... Good job. Look at you guys. And pay attention, taking your notes. And this stuff really does work. And I can say that because I, too, have been here all 7 weeks, paying attention, taking my notes, and some of you guys will be happy to know that your boy actually went on a date this week. So I say that to say there's a lot of truth in this. This stuff really does work if you will just, as I've said every week, lean in, pay attention, eliminate those distractions, take those notes. I promise you guys, it will work out for you. And I'm going to go ahead and make the claim that this week's message is probably the most important message out of this entire series. And I don't say that because I'm teaching it, but because it is the fundamental block of any relationship that you have. If you can get this part of your life right, all of your other relationships will flourish from it. All right, and so that tonight we are going to talk about friendships. Right? So very, very different than what we've been talking about, but we want to talk about friendships because the reality of it is that we need each other. As we jump into this, we're going to go all the way back to Genesis. I mean, all the way back to when Jesus created the earth, right? He created the stars, the skies, all of the animals, everything, even Adam himself, and he's looking around and he goes, all right, I did a good job. Everything's looking really good. But there was one thing that was not good. Before it goes up on the screen, does anybody know what that was? The one thing that was not good. No, before that ever happened, there was one thing that God did not like about His creation that He needed to fix. What? Man to be alone. Right, that's right. Adam was all alone. There was nobody else on earth. And so the first problem in the Bible wasn't sin, right? It wasn't that Adam and Eve ate the apple or that they disobeyed God. It was that Adam was alone, and that was the first problem. And that's also a fill in your blank there. The first problem was loneliness, not sin. It was solitude. And so in Genesis chapter 2, verses 18, it says, "Then the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper corresponding to him." And what we take from that is at the very beginning, God knew that we needed relationships, right? Adam had a relationship with God, but then he also had a relationship with somebody else who just so happened to be a woman. And so God knew and created us from the very beginning to be in relationships with others. And we need relationships because it keeps us focused. Right? Our friends keep us focused on things, whether they're good or bad. They'll keep you focused on something. Our friends keep us well. I would imagine that at some point in everyone's life, you can think back to a time when you didn't have friends or making friends was difficult, and you probably would not label that time of your life as a good time. So having friends keeps us well and encouraged. And we can also read in the Bible where King Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived. He comes in and he writes in the book of Ecclesiastes, in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 8, he says, "There was a person without a companion, without even a son or a brother, and though there is no end to all of his struggles, his eyes are still not content with riches. Who am I struggling for?" he asked, "and depriving myself of good things. This too is futile and a miserable task." And so when we really unpack that and we look at Solomon's life, Solomon had everything that you could ever imagine, right? Like, he lived in a big palace. The Bible actually tells us that he was the richest king ever, right? He had all the finest foods, all the money. You would think that this guy had everything in the world that he could ever possibly want. And in this, what he's saying is none of that mattered that none of that was going to meet the desire that is in our hearts to be in relationships with each other. Because again, that's how God designed us, to be in relationship with Him and to be in relationship with others. And there is nothing else in this world, no amount of clout, no amount of cool merchandise, no amount of anything, sex, pleasure, fun, that is going to satisfy us. We have to have relationships. First with Jesus and then with each other. And sometimes, especially when we come to church, what do you guys think the whole point of the church is? To learn about God? Spread His word. Okay. Yeah, for sure. And those are all great things, and definitely things that we do. But the real point of the church, and sometimes I even think that the American church has gotten this wrong because we put a lot of pressure on our programs and on the things that we're doing. But the reality of it is that the church is supposed to be the connection point for all of us. It's that time for us to come together to worship our incredible Lord, our incredible Savior, and for us to do life, to chase after the things of Him together, right? Because we need more than just good messages. As great as all of your messages have been these in past 2 months, and as great as your adult leaders have been up here, that's not enough for you guys to go live out and achieve all the great things that God has for you. It's just not. It's going to fall short every time, because the reality of it is that we need to have fun. We need to have these shared experiences as brothers and sisters in Christ. We need to make those memories, and we need each other. We need each other, and we need each other very, very badly. And so the question then becomes, well, what does that look like? How do I build friendships, and how do I pick good friends? Because let's be honest, not all people are great, right? Not all people really have our best interests at heart or are trying to help us win at life. So what does that look like, and what type of people do we need? Well, lucky for us, God gave us the Bible, and we have this incredible roadmap that we're going to get into tonight that tells us exactly what it is that we can look for in a friend and how to be a good friend. And so in the book of John, John was a disciple of Jesus. He tells us this incredibly detailed story of Jesus's last night here on earth. So him and his guys, they're all getting together and they're going to this big party, right? It was the Passover feast. They're going out having this big party to celebrate the Passover. And as the dinner is ready, for us, before we go eat, what do? We have to go wash your hands, right? Don't go eat with dirty hands, because you're just going to get sick and it's gross. All right? So similarly, they had a custom, they had a rule that they would wash their feet, right? Because back then, if you think about it, they wore sandals and they were exposed to dirt all day, and there were animals, not cars, and animals like to... So that's all over their feet too. It was very likely that they would step in some poo-poo and then have to go to dinner. And let's be honest, ain't nobody trying to go to a nice dinner looking like that, right? Right? And so no one's trying to go into your friend's house tracking in poop. That's a good way to get in trouble and not get invited back. And so the custom was that there was a servant there, and it was typically the lowest servant. Like whoever was lowest on the totem pole had to be the one to go and wash their feet. Now, I've washed some people's feet before. I have. It is not my most favorite thing to do. I actually think feet are very gross. They're stinky. They look weird. They're scaly because people don't moisturize. And I really don't understand what this fascination with feet pictures are. Please do not send me any. It's disgusting. I want... No. Don't. Do not send me the pictures. I have no idea what is so appealing about that. They're smelly, they're silly, scaly, and gross, and yeah, washing people's feet is not the best thing ever. But check out what happens here in John chapter 13, verse 8. Because Jesus goes to wash Peter's feet, who's also another one of his disciples, and Peter's a little embarrassed. I don't think Peter's ever had a pedicure before. So he's like, nah, Jesus, No, 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 stay away, don't touch my feet. They're all gross, they're a little crusty. And so Jesus comes back and he tells they were. So, so Jesus replies to Peter's crusty feet and he says, if I don't wash you, you have no part in me. Right? He says, if you don't let me wash your feet, you have no part in me. And that seems a little harsh, right? Because it's just washing feet. Like, come on, Jesus, whatever. Like, he's watched you do all these miracles. He stood beside you. And now you're going to get upset that he's not letting you wash his feet? But the reality of it is that Jesus was actually painting us a picture and setting a model for us to follow in how to pursue friendships and the types of friends that we needed. And your first fill in the blank is that I need people to care for me. See, it goes on in John chapter 13, verses 12 through 15. It says, when Jesus had washed their feet and put on his outer clothing, he reclined again and said to them, do you know what I have done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're speaking rightly, since that is what I am. So, if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I've given you an example that you also should do just as I have done for you. And what Jesus is doing here is actually really, really powerful because, I mean, sure, if you want to go wash feet, great, knock yourself out. Not something I'm going to willingly just go and do. But what he's showing us here is the power of being cared for. Because we need people who are going to care for us, but he's also setting the example that we have to care for people as well. Because if Jesus can't go into the dirtiest, nastiest, smelliest, and crustiest parts of our lives, then we can't go with him. We put a limit on God and we say, God, this is as far as I'm willing to go, and I'm not going to go any further with you because we haven't broken down those walls and allowed the Lord to come in and redeem and wash up those dirty places of our lives. All right, and so we need people who are going to care for us. And King Solomon comes back in with another great zinger in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10. It says, it's better to have a partner than to go it alone. Share the work, share the wealth, and if one falls, the other helps. But if there is no one there to help, tough. And again, we've all experienced loneliness at some point in our life. And we would say, that's tough. And for some of us, the best analogy that I can think of, anyone in here ever been on a bench press before? Anyone ever in here had to lift weights? All right, so if you're like bodybuilding, you're trying to build up your physique, build up your muscles, what do you have to do in order to do that? What do you have to do? You have to lift weights, but I'm looking for something specific. You do, but why do you need a spotter? Right, so the whole point of it, right, if we're going to be lifting weights, is to max out. We need to max out exactly where we know this is as much as I can do, this is as much as I can take, this is as heavy of a weight as we can do. And as Pastor P over here already pointed out, you want a spotter. You want that person because you're going to max out. You're going to hit that one. It's going to be 200 pounds and you ain't got nothing left in you. And if that spotter's not there, that's going to hurt. And it's going to cause some damage and somebody's going to go to the hospital that night, right? Like, that sucks to be the person on the bench by themselves without a spotter. But a spotter can come in, they can lift that weight, they can grab it, and they can help you out so that everybody walks away safely. All right, and so who's the spotter in your life? Who's there when everything else comes crashing down, when the weight of the world gets a little too heavy, when it's a little too much and we've got nothing left to give? Who's the one that's catching us? Jesus. You need people who are going to care for you too. Yes, we want to care for people, but we need people that are going to care for us. For me, and I've talked about this a couple of times with you guys, 2020 was a really, really bad year for me. We had a whole battle with depression and suicide, and there was one night that I didn't stay at home. I could not stay at home. I had to get out of my car, out of my house, call a friend, drive 6 hours to go spend the weekend with them, simply so that I didn't do something hurtful to myself. Imagine what would have happened if I didn't have that friend. If I didn't have that person there to spot me, to help me out when I needed it the most. We need people who are going to care. We need each other. And in Romans 12, verses 15, it says, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. And it goes on, there's another one in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 26. It says, if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. If one member is honored, all the members rejoice with it. And we need each other, not just on the bad days, but on the good days too. Right? We want that person who is going to cheer us on. They're going to be excited that you made the varsity team. They're going to be excited that you just aced that test. They're going to be excited that you got that job. Or Josh House was not all that excited when I texted him and told him about my date. You know, it would have been nice if he would have shared my enthusiasm, but he wasn't. Oh. That's okay. He said, oh, okay, cool. I was like, all right, no worries. I'm happy about it. So he's not even in here. That's why I can talk about it. But we want friends who are going to not only be there on the bad days, but who are going to be there on the good days too, to cheer us on, to celebrate with us. We need someone that's going to be there to cry and laugh with us, celebrate and struggle. All right. And so second, we need people who encourage us. All right. And so the word encourage there, it actually means to fill with courage. The word encourage is typically synonymous with like kindness or being nice to someone or saying nice things. No, it's actually meant to give somebody courage, to fill them up with courage. And we've got to gas each other up, right? Like there's some things in life that are scary. There's some things in life that are overwhelming. And sometimes we need that other person to just come alongside us, put a little gas in the tank, put a little wind in our sails, say, yeah, you can do it, and help us out so that we can tackle whatever it is that day throws at us. And I'm going to be honest, I think girls do this really well. Like, girls can be mean as snakes sometimes. Like, they are mean to each other. But have you ever watched girls with their friends? One of them walks in the door, and they're just, yes, yes, queen, slay. Like, they hype each other up. Now we calling people out. See, that's the mean side coming out of them. But we do. Like, I think girls are really good at it. They're really good at gassing each other up. They're really good at encouraging each other. They say the nicest things to each other. They'll talk about their shoes. They'll talk about their clothes. See, that's what they're doing right now. They're just telling each other how much they love each other and how great they all look. It was. All right, so girls do this really well, right? Their besties are always there for them to just throw compliments at them like they're Mardi Gras beads. And guys, on the other hand, we don't really operate like that. So it goes on in John chapter 14, verses 1. The Bible says, don't let your heart be troubled. Believe in God and believe also in me. Because, see, God's plan wasn't for us to be miserable. It wasn't for us to walk around discouraged or feeling defeated. No, God came so that we could have courage, so that we could have victory, and we could accomplish all the great things that He has planned for us. So be encouraged. You want to surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you. In Hebrews chapter 3, verses 13 says, but encourage each other daily, while it is still called today, so that none of you is hardened by sin's deception. And I'm going to be honest, this is what your small groups are designed for. Spoiler, I don't really care if we talk about any of the questions or about the message. That's not what that is for. What that is for is that becomes a place where you guys can develop relationships with each other and with other adults so that we can help you pursue all that God has for you, so that we can come alongside you and not only care for you, but we can also encourage you to do whatever it is that God has put in your heart to do, right? You can truly be known and not just walk into a room full of people that know your name, but don't know anything about your life. All right, so don't leave here tonight without getting somebody's number. somebody's new phone number, right? Somebody's phone number who you don't already have. I'm going to be honest, if you get a girl's or a guy's phone number, I'm not even going to be mad about it. Like, get somebody new's number, all right? Your small group leaders are there for you. They care about you. They want to encourage you. Your peers actually want to be there for you. They want to help you and encourage you. So get someone's number and check in with them regularly, right? No, anybody ever know that friend that only reaches out when they have a problem?
Yes.
Don't be that friend, right? Reach out regularly because, again, we need friends not only on the bad days, but we need friends on the good days too. And so you need people in your life to encourage you and to check in with you. And I'm going to be honest, I think our leaders do a great job of this. Like, we're all in our own little group text, and that thing stays popping all day long. Like, my phone just dings all day. Somebody is sending me their morning devo. Somebody is talking about a prayer request. Somebody is just sharing a funny little ha-ha story or video that they found. Like, we're constantly talking to each other and checking in with each other all throughout the week. We very rarely actually even talk about what Wednesday nights are going to happen or what's going to happen there because we're too busy talking about our own lives with each other. And you need that too. You need friends who are going to be there, who are going to encourage you. Okay, and so the next point, your next fill in the blank is, I need people who will partner with me. And we talk about this quite regularly, and that's that God has a plan for your life. God has something incredible for each and every one of you. But I'm going to be honest, you can't accomplish all of that on your own. You all have unique talents and things that you truly excel at, but none of us are great at everything, right? You may be really, really good at sports, and then you just suck in school. Or like maybe you're really, really good at talking to people, but then like you really suck at video games. That's me. None of us are great at everything. So we all need people who are going to come alongside us and partner with us to help us achieve the things that God has for us. And again, kind of going back to me and some of the things that I've experienced, I'll be honest, I love the friends that take care of me. I do. The friends that reach out, that talk to me, I love them. I love the friends that are there to encourage me when I'm going through a moment or I'm scared about something or my anxiety is through the roof. I love the friends who are there to encourage me. But y'all know what I love more? I love that friend who's right there in the trenches with me, who's linking arms with me and saying, hey, we're going to pursue all that God has for us together. I love the friends who take time out of their day, not to just say, hey, I'm going to pray for you, but will actually stop right then and there and pray with me. And you need friends like that too, that are going to partner with you and help you pursue all the things that God has for you. In John 15, one of my favorite Bible verses, it's even tattooed on my arm, verses 4 through 5, it says, remain in me and I in you. Just as a branch is unable to produce fruit by itself unless it remains on the vine, neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who remains in me and I in him produces much fruit, because you can do nothing without me. We can't do anything on our own. Nothing significant, nothing truly noteworthy. And you may think, Austin, I got this. Like, no, I got this. I am good at this. And you probably are. But there is a part of your life that you're not so good at, and you're going to need someone to come alongside you, pick up that slack, and continue walking forward with you to achieve all that God has for you. And again, in Ecclesiastes, he comes back and he says, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their effort. And in Ephesians 2:10, it says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared in ahead of time for us to do. And lastly, this is your last fill in the blank, we need people who will protect us. We can clap that round. I mean, I'm not done, but it's a great point. It's a great point. We need friends who are going to protect us. And right next to that, I want you guys to write the word accountability. 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 That's the big brain word for you.
Thank you.
Accountability. All right, so this isn't always fun. It's not. Being someone who's been called out on their stuff before and been told that they need to pick up the slack and carry their weight, it's not fun. And it's not always nice. Like, my closest friends are not always super nice to me. Elena was just texting one of her friends about it. It's totally fine. So, accountability, it's there to protect us. Right? It's not there to hurt us. It's not there to criticize us. It's not there to tear us down. Accountability is there to protect us. It's not being mean for the sake of being mean. It's just saying, hey, look out. That's not going to work out well for you. Right? And so I was involved in some drama one time. I know that's hard for all of y'all to believe because my life is just so peaceful. But I had some drama one time. Anyone else in here ever have drama?
Nope.
No, good for you guys. Who has had drama?
Today.
All right. So I'm in the middle of this drama. And I was talking to a friend, and I know it's hard for y'all to believe, but I actually have a little bit of an attitude. And so I told this friend that I was basically going to pop off at this person, right? And telling them all these things that I was going to say to them. Yeah, I was going to pop off to them. And they're just like, okay, all right, whatever. And so what do? Next time I see them, I pop off. I say exactly what I think, exactly what I mean, and we go on with it. Well, it ended up blowing up in my face. Not going the way that I went in. Yeah, it did. So, and my friend, and I went to talk to that same friend about it, and they said, yeah, I thought that was going to happen. Why did you not say anything? Right? Is that not, that's like the crappiest friend, right? Like, I need a friend who's going to cover my back. I need a friend who's going to catch my blind sides, who's going to see the things that I don't see, who's going to come alongside me and compliment those weaknesses and say, hey, Austin, that's not a very nice thing to say. Maybe just keep your mouth shut. Right? Because I need a friend who is going to protect me, and a friend that's going to be there, not to just leave me out to dry, but who's going to get in those trenches and link arms with me and cover my back. In John chapter 16, verse 1, it says, I have told you these things to keep you from stumbling. And that's what accountability is. It's that friend stepping up going, hey, I don't want to see you get hurt. I don't want to see this bad thing happen to you, so I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to say this thing that might hurt your feelings a little bit. It might make things a little awkward or uncomfortable, but I don't want to see you stumble. And then it goes on in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12, and it says, and if someone overpowers one person, two can resist it. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. All right, and so what he's talking about there, again, going back to that whole idea of we need each other to help strengthen us, right, to keep us going. But we also need those friends who are going to watch out for us, who aren't going to let us get stumbled on silly little things. And so you need to get close enough to somebody that they can get a little in your business, that they can get a little disrespectful if they have to. Matter of fact, years ago, like almost 100 years ago, there was a church, and it was the Methodist church, and they had basically small groups around. And every time they saw each other, they would ask themselves 7 questions. And I think we all need people in our lives who are going to ask us 7 questions. And they would ask them things like, have you been in a compromising situation this week? Have you been in a situation that maybe you shouldn't have been in? Have your financial dealings lacked integrity? Have you been dishonest about what you're doing with your money or your other resources? Have you viewed anything sexually explicit? What magazines do you have? What websites are you looking at? what pictures are being sent to you, right? You need someone who's going to get in your business a little bit. Number 4, have you spent quality time in Bible study and prayer? Have you lived out the requirements of your calling? Meaning, have you done the things that Jesus has told you to do, that God has given you to do? Have you given priority time to your family? Even though some of you guys are not parents and you're not married, well, all of you guys are not parents or married, your families are still important. And how you treat your family, even as a single guy, how I treat my sisters and how I treat my mom are going to be how I treat my future wife. So it is important that you continue to spend quality time with your family and that they remain a priority in your life. And then number 7, which is my favorite question, and I ask this all the time, have you just lied to me? I will flat out ask someone and be like, are you lying to me right now? Because most of the time, like, you just know when your friends are lying to you. You just know. And it's called, that's a lie. You're not okay. That's not what happened. You better be honest with me. And I'm going to be honest, even for me, I wish people would ask me these questions every day. And there are people in this room who have my permission and they know who they are to ask me those questions to get in my business, because I know that God has something so much better for me. I know that God has something so much more, and I need people around me who are going to help push me towards that, who are going to get in my face and step on my toes a little bit and call me out on the things that I'm doing wrong so that I can achieve all the things that God has for me. And when it comes to stuff like this, you don't have to tell everybody. Matter of fact, don't tell everybody. Do not put it out on Facebook. That's not going to go well for you. But if you're the only one who knows what's going on in your life, you're in danger. And there are other things that are going to happen. You're in trouble and you need someone else who knows what's going on. And that's why we're here. And that's why we have small groups. And that's why we do all of the things that we do. And even as I've been talking, there have been some things that have come to the forefront of your mind. There are some things that the Holy Spirit has already surfaced that you know need to be washed up. That maybe we need to go and we need to confess that to somebody else. Let someone else in on those dirty areas of our life so that they can encourage us, so that they can hold us accountable to it, so that they can be there and care for us like we need them to be. And out of all of the relationships that you have, the most important one is always going to be that relationship with Jesus. Because that vertical relationship that we have with Him, that's going to affect and it's going to come out in our horizontal relationships as well.